Tuple is a collection which is ordered, that its sequence is maintained and immutable, unlike lists. Once you define a tuple, its value cannot be modified later. Tuples are comma-separated values in a round bracket. You cannot remove items from it. However, you can delete the entire tuple using the keyword del. Duplicate members are allowed in a tuple. Tuple has two built-in methods, count and index. I will demonstrate both later in the lab. Moving on to the accessing methods of a tuple. To declare a tuple, use a variable, say TPL, here with values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 enclosed in a round bracket, which is the identity of a tuple. And next we print it out using the print method. If you run this code in Python environment, you get output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To access individual elements from tuple, you can write TPL in a square bracket past the index that you want to access. To access a range of values, you can provide that range using indexing in square bracket. Just provide starting and ending index separated by a colon. To delete a tuple, you can use the method del and then provide your tuple name after space. Just like lists, you can perform multiple operations on a tuple. You can repeat the elements in a tuple. You can iterate through tuple using loop. You can also find an element in a tuple using membership operator in tuple length. Now I am going to declare two tuples. Let me define a sequence of numbers from 1 to 5 in a parenthesis. And we have TPL2 with comma separated values. Both of them are tuples. Print each of them in print function. See, both of them are represented as tuples in the output cell. For confirmation, you can use the type method. Type TPL1. It returns tuple. Type TPL2. It is also a tuple. But usually, when we define a tuple in Python, we use parentheses. Tuple can also be created with mixed data types. Let me show you one. TPL3 is equal to cat 12 true 36.56. Now, let me print it. This is also a valid tuple, having values cat 12 true and 36.56. You can create a tuple with a single element. However, it is necessary to have a trailing comma in parentheses. Suppose I type T1 and assign only a single character A without a trailing comma. It will not be considered a tuple but a string. Print this tuple and the output shows A with no parentheses. To confirm it, let me print the type of object T1. As you can see, the data type of T1 is str, that is a string, not a tuple. Now, adding comma at the end and executing the code. Now, T1 is a tuple. Elements can be accessed using indices, just like lists. Type TPL1 and in the square bracket pass index 2. It returns 3. As we have 3 at index number 2 in our tuple TPL1. Type TPL-1, it returns last element. To access a range of values, specify it similar to what you have done in the list. Type TPL1 and, in square brackets, provide a range, say 2, 5. Run the code. It returns 3, 4, and 5. The element 5 at index 4 is returned in the result along with other two values. But there is no element at index 5. Remember, range excludes the index specified in the ending position of the range. You cannot modify a tuple once it is created. However, you can delete the entire tuple using del method. Type del tpl1. This deletes the tuple tpl1. Now, if you try to print tpl1 in the next cell, it will give you a syntax error. tpl1 is not defined as it is not present in the memory anymore. Let me define a tuple of colors having values red, yellow, green, and black. Print the tuple. Now, I would like to iterate each element using for loop. Using the syntax of for loop to iterate the sequence, type for x in colors. Print your looping variable x. In the output cell, you can see the values printed one after the other. Tuples also allow repetition operation. Here, I am multiplying my tuple colors with 3. Now each element will appear thrice in the tuple, but this operation results in a new tuple rather than modifying the original tuple. To check this, print tuple colors in the next cell. See, there is no change in the original tuple. You can also use membership operator in or not in to find the existence of an element in a tuple. Here, I am taking user input to find the existence of a color provided by the user in my tuple. Type enter the name of your color, employing if-else to do the job. Type if user in colors, then print it if it is found in colors, otherwise print it is not found in tuple. Here I typed red. It says red is found in colors. You can try different input values and see how it works. Now I'm going to find the length of the tuple using len method. Print len colors. The output shows the result 4 as there are 4 elements in the tuple. As tuples are immutable, you cannot add or append value in it. Let us try it by assigning new value white at index 0. Print tuple colors. The interpreter will throw an error that object does not support item assignment. You cannot remove items from a tuple but delete the whole tuple as I told you earlier. Concatenation can also be performed. Use plus operator to concatenate two tuples, which results in a new tuple. Here, I'm defining a new tuple, colors2, and now I am concatenating colors and color2. In the output cell, you will see a tuple having elements from both tuples. Remember, this is a new tuple, and original tuple colors and color2 remain intact. Tuple has two methods, count and index. Next, we have an index method. Index method is used to access an item at a particular index number. Say, I want to find the index of value. Now try with 2. It returns 1 as element 2 is at index position 1. If we have multiple occurrences of the same element, then returns the first index position of the element, which is 1 in our case. Now, exploring count method of tuple. Finding the count or frequency of an element, say 2 in the tuple. Here, it returns 2 as number 2 appears twice in my tuple. Similarly, you can try it with other values. You can also unpack tuple elements using multiple assignments. Define a new tuple TPL underscore new. Now, I am going to unpack the values of tuple. Here, I am using 3 variables to unpack my tuple TPL underscore new. Next, print values of your variables. See, X holds first element, Y holds second element, and Z holds the third element of the tuple. Notice, number of variables should be equal to number of elements inside a tuple. So in this lab, you learned about tuples, operations that can perform over it, and how to unpack values of tuples.